Hey, so let's talk about how it's been 2 months since I last made a video. So school started and it was a little crazier than I was expecting it to be. I am in education and I'm doing my first practicum. I'm going to be finishing this first practicum in April, and then I have the summer off, and then I'm doing my last one from September to December, and then hopefully I'll graduate and have my teaching certificate. But yeah, it's been a little bit crazy, but now I'm kind of in the swing of things. Hopefully I'll have more time for reading. I did manage to read 7 books in January and February, so I'll talk about that. So at the beginning of my wrap-up videos, I'm going to be talking about the books that I read for the month, and I'm also going to talk about media that I liked for the month, what I'm watching on Netflix, current TV shows, or music, movies, any kind of media that I'm into. January and February, I won't have a lot for that section because, as I already mentioned, I was very busy, and also I didn't have a lot of money to go to the movie theater to see new movies that came out. Even though I heard there were some great ones and I do want to see them, I just didn't have time for them in January or February. So without further ado, let's get into the 7 books that I read in January and February. The first book I read this year, back in January, was Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. I thought it was really good. It's been on my TBR probably since it came out, and I finally picked it up at the library and read it, and I'm so glad I did. It was really good in dealing with really important themes. It dealt with being Mexican American, dealt with sexuality, it dealt with homophobia, including internalized homophobia. There were a couple of things that bothered me about it, not a lot, just that it was very dialogue heavy, and some of the scenes read more like a script than a novel, and the pacing was kind of weird. It would go from really long, dragging chapters, and then there'd be chapters that were just fast and snappy, almost too fast. I felt like there was some things missing in some parts, and then other parts dragged on, but for the most part I really liked it, and I would recommend it, especially because it's a great coming-of-age novel, and I feel like it's really important. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The second book I read this year was Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli, and I thought that was great. I did a review on that one. I thought it was adorable. I also liked how it dealt with societal flaws. There really shouldn't be a normal. Everyone's unique, everyone's different, and everyone's special, and everyone has something to bring to the world. So to try and fit in with what normal is doesn't really celebrate the beauty of diversity. I also really liked the characters. They were well developed. I thought it was a great all-around read, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. The third book I read was Finding Audrey by Sophie Kinsella. I picked it up because the main character has an anxiety disorder as well as depression and panic attacks, and I thought I would be able to relate to that because her diagnoses are similar to mine. It was okay. It was an okay book. I did not relate to it as much as I expected I would. I thought that her recovery was very rapid, and I know everyone's different, so some people might relate to the rapid recovery that Audrey goes through, but I did not. I felt that what took me years to be able to do, she was able to accomplish in a matter of days or weeks. And another thing about that I did not like was it felt like the boy she was interested in really was the one to help her to recover. I thought it really showed that she was recovering because of this boy rather than him just being a support figure for her. And I also thought it was too much insta-love. I mean, some people might relate to it. I didn't think it was awful. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, but I'm still going to be on the lookout for more mental health books. This year I want to read more mental health books that I relate to, and I'm hoping to find some that I really connect to. The next book I read was For Today I'm a Boy by Kim Fu. This book is about a Chinese-Canadian transgender girl, and the author is not transgender. So I decided to look up reviews from transgender readers, blog posts, and see what they said about it before I wrote my review and made my conclusions. My disclaimer is actually quite a few of the blog posts I read were saying that the representation in this is deeply appreciated. The readers could connect to the character, and it's a character that you don't hear a lot about, unfortunately. A POC transgender woman, especially Canadian, is just not a typical main character. So they were very excited to read about a character that they could connect with and identify with that they had never seen before in literature. However, I did see another blog post that was talking about how the story is very tragic and the tone throughout is it's very tragic, and they were saying it could be seen as demeaning and it could even be triggering for some readers. So I just wanted that to be said before I continue. Just be aware of the differences of opinions out there. Make sure it's not something that will trigger you, and make sure that you realize, if you're not a transgender reader, that it is not depicting every single experience. It's depicting one experience, and it's not speaking for the whole entire population. That all being said, I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I thought it was a beautiful story. I thought the writing was beautiful. It's a lot heavier than the other 3 books I just talked about. It's an adult literary fiction. It's not written in a chronological plot. Each chapter is a theme from this main character's life, and the chapter really focuses on how that theme develops throughout their life, and it's not strictly their childhood and their adulthood. Their whole life is kind of interwoven between the chapters. I thought it was beautiful, and I thought it was such an important story to read. Keeping in mind the disclaimer, I would recommend this if it sounds like something you're interested in. The next book I read, I'm a little bit embarrassed about. It's Flowers in the Attic by V.C. Andrews. And the reason I picked this up was because I heard it described as the taboo book of the 1980s, and so I had this curiosity, wondering what these teens in the 80s were reading that would be so taboo. So I picked it up from the library, and it is an uncomfortable book. It's an American Gothic novel, and basically it's about 4 children who are locked in their grandparents' attic for years. And trigger warning for neglect, abuse, rape, pretty much everything. It was a very dark story. There are so many problematic things about it, but it was still captivating, and the writing style was interesting. It was written very light and airy, almost like it could have been the story of a fairy tale. It was very fantastical, but at the same time, the events that were occurring were horrific and awful. So it was such a juxtaposition of the writing style and the events. At the end of the novel, I was interested enough to wonder what happened to the children, and there's 4 more books in the series, and I may pick them up at some point in my life. It's kind of a story that sucks you in, and you really get invested in the characters. That being said, I wouldn't recommend it, especially if you're sensitive to anything. I did give it 3 out of 5 stars, though. I was going to rate it lower, but thinking back, it was meant to be uncomfortable, and I feel like it accomplished its purpose. So for that reason, I couldn't feel justified to give it lower than 3 out of 5 stars, just because I didn't enjoy it, if that makes sense. Anyway, moving on, the next book I read was Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. Finally, I was waiting for this book on hold at the library for months. I've been wanting to read it since the movie came out, because I wanted to read the book before I watched the movie, so I have finally read the book. Now I can watch the movie. I really like this book. Aesthetically, it was gorgeous. The page design was gorgeous. I loved the vintage photographs throughout, and the story itself was really good. The writing was beautiful. There were a couple times when, and I've heard this said before, where it felt like the story was forcing itself to fit in with the picture rather than the picture aligning with the story. It was a good story though. There was also a couple times when the dialogue seemed a little unrealistic, but the main plot was captivating and so unique, and I'm really excited to watch the movie and also to continue on with the series. Finally, the last book I just finished reading in February was The Bell Jar, and I actually have this one because I bought it for my book club instead of getting it from the library. I'm in a book club and we read a book every 2 months. All the books we have chosen are written by female authors, and we rotate between a modern and a classic every 2 months. And for January and February, we read The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. This was a really good novel for a book club if you're a part of a book club. It's a portrait of a woman who is going through suicidal depression. Basically, it's what leads up to it, her mental breakdown, and then her recovery. The writing was gorgeous, and the story actually parallels Sylvia Plath's life, the author, so that was another added layer that was really interesting. I also really like how this novel really grapples with the human psyche and feminism and just the disillusionment of life, especially in the academic world or in the fashion industry, just really elite positions in society. There's a lot of good discussion points. Yeah. I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. Those are the 7 books that I read in January and February. So now I'm going to go on to the media portion of my wrap-up. As I said, I didn't watch a lot of movies or anything in January and February because I was so busy, but I did watch the entire season of One Day at a Time, and I would highly recommend it. It was so good. It tackled so many social issues in just the 22 minutes or however long it was, and however many episodes it was. There was always something profound to learn in such a light family comedy, and I love how it was focused on a Cuban family and their life in America. And the last 2 episodes, I was bawling. It was so good, and I cannot wait for the 2nd season to come out. Anyway, I would highly recommend it. I would give it 1,000,000 stars if I could. I will say that the first episode, I was not sure how I felt about it. I thought the acting was a little bit off, but then once you're invested in it, especially by the second half of the season, it's amazing. So go watch it right now. And unfortunately, that is pretty much all I have for media. I know a series of unfortunate events came out on Netflix, and I really want to watch that, but I want to do it as a kind of a read-along. I want to read the book and then watch the episodes that go along with that book and do it more like that. I'll probably do that when I have more time. And that's all I have for now. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.